and introduce you to our speaker, Ana, who's a Scrum Master in a company in Ireland, and is pretty passionate about Agile and visual techniques and sharing things, and that's what she's doing now.
Hello, everyone. So, as Francesco said, I am working in Ireland. We are in the lockdown, and these visual techniques have become even more important now when we are working from home. So idea for the meetup today was how to pair visual techniques we were learning before in the office that we can use with the remote setup during the quarantine. That's one of the things. Another thing is that I started learning how to draw when Pavel gave his first presentation, and I haven't used my pen and paper lately because I was working from home, and I realized that's not a reason not to use it. So what you're looking at in this welcome screen is my first try of creating a drawing after a long time. So some letters are falling out of space, and that means we all need to practice. So what we came up with an icebreaker for you. And the first thing to do is think about what made you smile during quarantine and try to draw it. And you will go into breakout rooms with other people. You will show them your drawing, and then they will try to guess. And Francesco is preparing breakout rooms, and I hope that you all have been in Zoom breakout rooms before. If you haven't, just a quick intro that you will get a pop-up that will ask you to move into a room. You will be there with 4 other people, and you can unmute yourself, you can introduce yourself, you will be there for 6 minutes. And that's enough time to come up with a quick drawing, show it to others, try to guess what others have been drawing. And then after 6 minutes, you will be automatically brought back to the main session. Okay, did I forget something?
While in the rooms, you will not be able to talk with the other rooms or with the main chat room. You will be able to receive messages from the main room. You should always be able to go back to the main room and go back, and I can help you going back to your breakout room. Okay, let's try this. You should have received an invite now. Perfect, I see people disappearing. Okay, and I have 3 people here. I have Sasha. Okay, she moved. And then I hope I pronounce it correctly. Otzgul.
Yes.
Okay, if you don't mind, you may have, did you hear the explanation of what we're trying to do?
No, but I just got a call from work. I need to go back to work.
Oh, sorry about that. It's okay.
Sorry, bye-bye.
Bye. And Prabo, I hope I pronounce your name correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Did you hear the explanation of the activity?
No, just I joined just now. I did
okay.
Not, it's only 5 seconds back I joined.
I captured that, but I wanted to be sure that maybe you didn't rejoin. So I'm gonna send you now in a breakout room. There you will find the speaker, Ana. The idea is for you to think about something that made you smile during the quarantine, and then you will show it to the people. So you will have to draw, and then you will show it to the people in the room, and they will have to guess. This is just an activity as a icebreaker. So I'm going to send you to the breakout room 1, where you will find Ana, and she can help you in case that's not clear, but I think it's pretty simple.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Sign to breakout room. Bye.
Are we all back?
Half of us, roughly. Yeah, it adds another, from the moment you close the breakout rooms, it adds another 60 seconds timer. So we may have to wait 30 seconds more, I think. Which is not a bad sign. That means that people are enjoying it. They want to talk more. Otherwise, they would have left already. Okay, 3 more. Cool. And I think we now have everyone. Back to you, Ana.
Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this. In my group, people were not drawing for a long time, and I realized I haven't been drawing for a long time because of the setup, and it's a good thing to have a pen again and trying to express myself through these drawings, which are terrible, but doesn't matter. Okay, so why all this story, and what is my background, and what I experienced before, and how I did things before. In the last year or two, I was working with the teams in a large company, international company, and we were working with teams in several locations, and there was a agile coach, who was promoting teams working closely together in one location. And when we started working with teams, a lot of teams had people who were remote, and it is preferable for the teams to work together and to sit together in the same office, but sometimes that's not possible. So that was the first time when I started thinking how I can work with a group of people and how I can share information in a more in a different way when people are not in the room. Another situation where people can be in the room, but where sharing information in a visual way is important is when you walk into a room, everybody is sitting around huge desk, and that office had a desk for 20 people. Everybody would come in, sit around the desk, look into their laptop, and actually not listen what was happening. And they would walk out of the meeting without even knowing what happened there. So engaging people, making sure everybody has the same understanding, and making sure that people on the phone, on remote people, are treated equally like the people in the room, is something that I was looking into last year. This year, that came even to a greater focus, because now we are all working remote. And to be honest, it is easier to do things when everybody is remote than when you have half of the people in the room and half of the people remote. So company where I work now, that's MasterCard, has, again, offices all around the world, and we need to collaborate. So, and one of the things that happened when I started working is when this whole quarantine started, is that I joined a huge number of different meetups, webinars, trying to see how other people are doing remote work. And I realized I'm listening about their experiences, about their tools, and they're promoting all the best tools to do things remotely. But some of these things didn't work for me, because in my company, we have predefined tools, and we have some of the restrictions due to the security. So what happens if you don't have access to all the best tools that everybody's talking about? What happens if you don't have access to Zoom? What happens if you don't have access to Slack or some other channels? And how then you collaborate? And I realized listening to those groups is not sufficient. I need to come up with my own plan, because I'm in my own situation, and that's something I was doing even before. Okay, see what you have and do best with, even with the tools you don't like, what can you do? So it's not about the tools. It's not about what I have and what I don't have. It's about how can I make those things work. If you think about Agile and coaches, what they say, have a people in the room. If you cannot have people in the room, have people on the call with cameras on. But in my setup, I cannot have cameras on. We are on VPN, we are on secure lines, and with the whole company on VPN, we cannot have cameras on because the bandwidth is not supporting it. We don't have Zoom because it's not approved tool. We are on Skype. You can imagine 15 people on Skype, not a good idea. We don't have Slack because it's not approved tool. We have Skype for chat or MS Teams lately. So what do you do then? How do you collaborate? And that's where idea for this session came. What can we do with limited tools, and what are the ideas we can share to help each other? So idea of this presentation is to show you what I came up with, what tricks I found, and then I would like to hear from others. What have you found and how it works for you? As I go through the presentation, and we are kind of a small group, smallish group, if you have any question, you can either unmute yourself and ask a question and interrupt and ask a question while we are there, or you can type it in a chat and then Francesco will read it out and ask a question. Or you can also keep it for the discussion later if you want to check with other people also what they think about something. So all the questions that you have, if they are not answered during the presentation, we can also bring them later in the discussion. So again, this is not about the tools, proper exact tools I'm using. This is more like checking what didn't work in the tool for me and how I try to bypass the thing to get my team collaborating and to bring this innovation topic. And another important thing is that I joined a new team, newly formed team in February. We were together in the office for 18 days, 18 working days, and then we had to split. So it was actually a good thing that I joined a completely new team because they were open to learning and open to suggestions, and they were open to try new things because they didn't have predefined things. So it was interesting journey discovering with them how they find it. I would be interested to hear how your teams reacted when they had to go remote, and do you have all the latest and greatest tools, or do you also have problems with some of the tools? So first thing, if you, maybe going back one slide is, as I said, we don't have cameras, we don't have a great chat tools, but one of the things I actually lack in this whole setup is the whiteboard. And that was the first thing I started looking, how we can collaborate as a team and what can be our whiteboard. And what I found is that my company approves Mural, so we can use Mural as a tool. But even if you cannot, and that's not important, what you can do is there are different tools. There is Miro, there is even simpler tools. What you need is a board where the team can put their ideas, where they can all collaborate and where they write at the same time. That's the important thing. What I first had to do is introduce the tool to the team. The thing is that my team was like any other team. They would come into a room, they would sit around the table, and then they would look at the ticket system, regardless if it's Jira or Rally or something else, and they would go into long discussions without coming up with notes, without writing on the whiteboard. So what I needed from them is to also accept the concept of participating, all of them, not just the senior developer talking and everybody listening. And I proposed to use Mural. I found Mural. I prepared a document explaining how to use it. And after 3 days, I checked with them who has read the document, and answer was nobody. because nobody was gonna read documentation and prepare. So in order to get my team to use a tool, I could bring it into some of our sessions and say, okay, let's talk about this problem that we have and let's use a new tool, which is usually not a good idea because then people get confused. They are focused on the problem they're trying to solve, and they are also worried about the new tool. How do we use it? They get lost. They don't know how to navigate. So in the end, what we did is we organized a game. And what I wanted in that game to happen is I wanted the team to learn how to use the tool, to open the tool, to create account if needed, to access the page, to find the certain areas of the page where they needed to navigate, to create a content in the page, to start adding some post-its, to start adding some images, to start putting comments. We also practiced how to vote on some ideas, and we practiced how we want to introduce some timers so that our sessions are time boxed. And those are the things that they needed to learn. And we played 2 truths and 1 lie. This is the game somebody mentioned to me that they can play it in the office. We brought it online, and it was a great team bonding activity. So they all enjoyed we learned a lot about each other. They all enjoyed the activity and they used the tool. And that's how I convinced them to use the tool. Again, I gave them 3 days to prepare the content in advance. So when we started the session, the content would be there and we would just go from one person to another person and vote what is the truth and what is the lie. But nobody did it. They did it 20 minutes before the meeting. So one of the things is that they need a little bit nudge to do it. But if it is a team bonding activity, they are more likely to do it. Another thing that happened is that we onboarded 3 new people during the quarantine. So I have a team of 12 people and 3 of them I have never seen in person. But these kind of games are helping us to keep our team as team spirit and to have people onboarded and to feel like they're part of the team. So if you are bringing new tools, I would suggest try with a game first and some team bonding game. After that, we were approaching PI planning, 3 months of a planning for new features. And team, as a new team, they were struggling with how they will split larger features into smaller stories, how they will work, how we're gonna do that planning. Of course, nothing works perfectly, so features were not given to the team early enough. We were getting those features in last minute. Team was very stressed. So I was thinking to help the team to work and collaborate. I need to try with them to split them maybe into subgroups. As I said, team is 12 people. We have only Skype. We don't have Zoom. We don't have breakout rooms. So how can 12 people collaborate and start splitting large feature into smaller stories, and how we can split? If you walk into a session and try to do something so complex, like let's jump between the rooms in Skype, let's have a timer and things like that, and at the same time they have a very complex problem to solve, they would get lost. So we played the morning routine game and we split the team into 2 groups. I prepared the board. Each group had their own frame. You can see here that I have 2 almost, they look identical, but they were split into 2. And in advance, I prepared Skype links. So there was one mainline Skype link, and then I asked colleagues to share their Skype links, and we had additional, each breakout room had its own predefined Skype link, so they knew to which link they should connect. We were all on the main line. Then they went into their separate line, came back, and shared how they approached the problem and how they solved the morning routine game. Learning from that game was how to how they can manage the breakout rooms. We learned that, for example, having a Skype link written in Mural is not a good idea. Having several Skype meetings in our calendar is easier because then you can just click between Skype meetings and move around. And it's a good tryout. So when we actually did that for our large planning session, we all knew what it means and how we jump between the rooms and how we communicate with each other. Time intervals. When we play this game in the room, it's usually 15 minutes steps when the game is played. But when you are playing it online, give it more time, because people need to switch between the links. They get lost. Something is not working perfectly. Sometimes somebody cannot mute or unmute themselves. And I like to give them a little bit more time. Another thing that we did is now most of our sessions are 25 minutes, but we put a timer on 30. So team then can say, okay, we will have a break 5 minutes at the end. If we need to discuss, we will discuss for 30 minutes, but usually they discuss for 25, they take a 5-minute break, and then they come to the main room back. So we have those small breaks so that people can go grab water, coffee, something. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Another thing with this tool is that we play the same game into several steps, because I don't know if you have heard about morning routine before. It's a game where people come up with one setup and then you change a scenario a little bit, so they have to change the game a little bit. So we were going back and forth between those breakout rooms and the main room. And another thing, which there is a game. I also was thinking how I can bring it online. This is not for my team. This is for a group in the company. There is a game which is great to play in the office when you have examples of user stories, and you have to split them into certain types of into certain groups. Is this a good user story? Is this a testable user story? And things like that. I can share a link to the game later if you're interested. It's a great game for introducing the concept of user stories and what is a good user story, what is a not good user story. And on the left, you see how that looks when you print it out. And it is played in a way that people put them in certain columns. And once they are done, they can flip the paper and see the answer on the other side. Do they do it correct or not? So I was thinking, okay, my first idea was, let me Google if there is a tool where I can have a post-it and then I can flip it around. And of course, I didn't find anything. But the thing is, you don't have to have the game exactly the same. Things can be modified. In the tool I'm using, what I can do is I can have a frame where this is the middle frame with multiple colors, where they can put post-its. They can drag and drop post-its and put them into the columns. And then on the right-hand side, I have the solution, which is hidden. Once they have solved the game, they can unhide the solution and see how their version compares to the solution frame. If you're that's something that Mural has. Other tools might not have it, but it doesn't matter. We can come up with some other solutions how to maybe prepare it or how to work with it. And you can get creative. People were saying, oh, I just had a simple whiteboard and I had solution ready, and then I put a gray, a huge gray rectangle over it, so people could not pick underneath. And once they were done, I removed the gray rectangle. So it's, or even you can have it, if they play the game, you can then come up, take a photo of the solution and upload the solution for them. It's not about the tool you have, it's how creative you get around the tool to use it. When I was talking to Francesco about this presentation, I came up, oh, I have a great game that we can play maybe in this round. And he said, oh, I played a great game with my teams in my company today. And when we compared, it is a similar game. But Francesco came up with a completely different version how he presented that game remotely to his teams. So it doesn't matter which tool you use, it's just how you put it in, and it would be great if you played some games maybe to share later. And another slide, this is, so all things before were games, but actually all the things that I mentioned, I'm now using in refinement session with my team. So we have a board where we bring our user stories. They start looking at them. So, and another thing is with 12 people, if 12 people look at one user story, that means one person will be talking and everybody else will be probably quiet, or maybe two people will be discussing. So what we decided is we will be splitting into subgroups. And we do, when I was doing that in the room, it was 15 minutes flare session, 15 minutes focus session. But now it is a little bit longer. Again, when it's online, when you are jumping between the rooms, it takes some time. So what we do is that we have a frame where we bring stories. That's our parking lot. Our product owner says what are the stories that we're gonna refine. We start with a short introduction of the stories. We bring the stories, and if you see right from the number 1 are avatars of people in the team. And then we discuss, okay, this is a user story about feature A. Who wants to go into breakout room and discuss it? And we bring the faces, but there is only one. You cannot be in 2 breakout rooms at the same time, so you need to decide. So we drag the faces around that story, and they know who is their subgroup. Then we bring another user story and ask who wants to go into another breakout room and talk about other user story. And again, we split. Frames number 3, those are teams. I named them based on the flowers. They know, they have a link to Skype. They know to which group they will join. And they go into breakout rooms and discuss about it. After 25 minutes, they come back. We then talk about what they discovered. Do they have some question? Do they need more time to refine it? They present their approach to Team B. Team B might have some questions. Ask them, have you thought about this or that? And then if maybe they need to regroup, maybe they say, oh, we need a person from Team A to join Team B because they know some answers that we need. And they go into the next session, they refine the story further, or take another story if they don't have anything to work on the first story. And then once they are done, we also have a small planning poker frame that's not close to number 4. This is where we do our story sizing and do the voting. So the games I was showing you before, 2 truths, 1 lie, this is where they had to try how to vote, how to decide, how to click, how to time things. With morning routine, we exercise going between the breakout rooms and coming back. And all that helped us to run our refinement without sufficient questions. Where do I go? How do I connect? Where do I find information? With whom I'm in the breakout room and stuff like that. So this is what we found that is working for our team. And there is another thing that I'm still trying to teach them. It happened this morning. We were in a workshop where they were presenting what they learned about a new feature. And we were taking notes directly on the whiteboard with stickers, taking quick notes, what are the next steps to do. And one of the colleagues said, okay, so can I get an email with all the steps we need to do after this meeting? And I said, okay, why do you need an email if we are taking here notes? And then he said, well, the other person was talking too fast, so I didn't get everything. And then this is a great example to see where people still need something to discuss again. Have they missed anything? And then we went again through our notes and added additional notes on the board. And everybody was clear what needs to be done. And once they leave the meeting, they don't need additional sub-meetings. They don't need additional emails or any clarifications. Because again, if somebody sends an email, that email then can raise new questions. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? But in the meeting with the whiteboard, it's forcing them to clarify what exactly they mean and do they share the understanding. And that's why the visual part is so important, because as I said, we started from a room of full of people sitting around desk and one person explaining and everybody nodding, yes, yes, but then walking out of the room and not being sure what we are doing. And what we need now is everybody having the same understanding, even though we are not able to work in the same room or see each other. So this is what we did before. This is what works for me, and I can also tell you what doesn't work for me, what are the things I'm still struggling with. So even though we have breakout rooms, this is a smaller group of people, four or five of them can be in a group. It's working great, but once we are back in the main room, or if we are discussing something that needs input from the whole team, sometimes we are still not the best group of people to wait for others to stop, to respect each other, to not talk over each other, because if we are a new team, some of the policies still need to be discussed and people are passionate about them. So sometimes we do talk over each other, and I'm still struggling to see how we can improve in that communication. We introduced one small trick. At the beginning, our meetings would go into rabbit hole and in the wrong direction. And if you want to interrupt somebody, and if you say, "Oh, Ana, you're talking on something that doesn't make sense, and it's not a topic of this meeting," it might also sound rude. And some people were not feeling confident to call out other people by name. But also they are aware that the discussion went into wrong direction. So how do you interrupt people on the call? You don't see them, you just have a voice. So how do you interrupt that nobody feels offended? So we came up with a word. If somebody screams banana, that means the discussion has gone into wrong direction. We all need to stop and we need to regroup. And when I introduced it for the first time, they said, no, that's stupid. Let's make it, we can call it out. We're not gonna be offended. But then in the retrospective, one of the girls said, I don't like to call out anyone. So I really wanna use a safe word. And we started using it. So maybe sometimes some ideas are not picked up when they are mentioned for the first time, but if you mention them after a week or something, they can come up, the team can realize it's actually something they want to try. And it's really fun. I got a chance to scream twice, banana, in the middle of the discussion, and everybody starts laughing. So it's a better way to interrupt people, but still I don't know how to have a discussion without too many people talking over each other when the topic is heated a little bit. So now we came to a part where it's a time for a retrospective, maybe to see what worked for you, and are there any tips you would like to share with groups what was something that you have that works like My Banana, or maybe some tool or some game. And for that, we prepared a mural where we can collaborate. So the URL you're seeing here, and I hope Francesco copied the link in the Zoom chat. This is the link to a board where you can collaborate, and I will.
He didn't do that yet.
Okay.
Thank you, Pavel, for covering me perfectly there.
So if you haven't worked with Mural before, I will give you a quick introduction. This is the mural that you will join, and you will be anonymous participants, which is fine. You will be able to add content to it. And if you go to the top right corner, there is this button which shows outline. And outline is are the different frames. We have a feedback frame, and then we have frames for each breakout room where you can collaborate with your group. So first, I would like you now for 3 minutes to give us a feedback. You can think about a few things, and also you can try out how you can access Mural and how you can type in these post-its. You can click once and you can type in, or you can click twice and create a new post-it if all of them are filled in. Another thing is sometimes a lot of people are moving around the board, and there will be like 18 of us. So at the bottom, you can click on your name, and your name, you are the top, you are the most left person. Even if you're anonymous, you are the most left. And you can click once on your icon, and you have hide cursors. And that way you will not see cursors of other people running around. So it might be easier to look at your frame. You can zoom in and zoom out with your mouse wheel. And I would like you to think about how this session, to give feedback how it works so far. And also, maybe if there is a topic you would like to discuss in some of the future meetups. There are these 2 or 3 games like morning routine or user story game that we can actually play in some of the next remote sessions. So you can go through the game in more details. I was now just sharing learnings from the game, not the game themselves. Or if you have some other topic that you think we can cover.
Anna, a question from the crowd, from the chat. Does it work from mobile?
Mural, no. Unfortunately, you cannot do it from the mobile. It works from tablet and it works from laptop. There is a similar tool, very similar, which is Miro. And that one, I think, works from mobile.
It does. It even has an app, but
yeah,
Miro
so
is
Miro works, and the
it's
difference
more complicated as a tool.
I actually started with Miro, and then it was blocked, and we moved to Mural. And Miro has more predefined templates, while in Mural you have to do everything by yourself, but then you have a voting option, which is great.
I can share with you because I'm on my company laptop right now because I was promoting Miro heavily in my office, and one of the guys wrote in open channel, he said, "Rant, why is everyone relentlessly stuffing Miro down my throat? It's just instant turn off for me. I don't want to waste my time fiddling around with tiny boxes and widgets. It's a distraction. Let's get to the real points instead." End of the rant.
Yeah. Well,
so
I had
it was lovely feedback. I wrote to him, "I love your feedback."
Yeah, I started my presentation to my management with the image I also have here in my presentation. This is the image I created for my managers, why I need whiteboard and why we all need to use it. And now all my managers are starting to use whiteboards to track their work between the teams and to get feedback and to collaborate. Because they realized talking on the phone, people get disconnected.
While we are here and we have 1 minute left, if I can, it was not announced, but news of the morning. Shameless plug, we're organizing a course with 2 professional Bicablo trainers on the 19th and 26th of June. I'm gonna share a link to the proposal as soon as it's ready. It's gonna be roughly half price. It's a beta course done entirely online. If you're interested, keep an eye on our community. We're gonna put something there.
This mural board will be available to you even after the session. So if you come up with an idea today, tomorrow, and if you think, sometimes I walk out of the sessions and trainings and then in the back of my mind, some things, I think about it and come up with another ideas. You can come back and you can put your feedback in this frame, and I would like to read and see if you put anything. Okay, so as mentioned, time is up, but the board is still here and you will have access to it during this session and later. So now it's a great thing now that we can split into subgroups and maybe in a smaller groups discuss what you did in your groups, maybe some tips, maybe situations that you had, and you can maybe discuss with others. And you have predefined frames for your breakout rooms. I encourage you to write something, and when we come back, we can then present different rooms what you found and share ideas. And I hope I will walk out of this session with new ideas to try with my team.
Just a second before I reopen the room, a couple of people dropped out. So I'm gonna reassign just a couple of us, you, Ana. And if you don't mind, I may pop into a room or two just to be part of the experience. So don't mind me. Cool. Clicking the button in a few seconds. You should see, like before, a prompt to join breakout room, and people are leaving, so that's working. It's perfect.
Wait, I can't see the message.
Oh, because you joined. That's perfect.
I'm Roberta, and then I had to rejoin, and I think Zoom has automatically logged me in with my husband's account. There it is. Join breakout room. I have it.
Yeah. There are 2 rooms which seem to be quite chatty, room 2 and 4. Let's see who's going to give up earlier, sorry.
Question, how do you prolong, how do you extend the time? Because like we were shut down, we were kicked out of the room anyway. So,
immediately? Oh.
Yeah, kind of like you say, okay. So you have a pop-up and then.
Okay, so the way it should work, you create the breakout rooms, and optionally, you can set up a timer. When the time's up, the organizer, which is not necessarily the host, is the person who created the breakout rooms, which is a little bit counterintuitive if you want. And only that person should receive the message and is able to change the rooms.
Okay.
Okay. So I receive the message when the time is up, and it says, keep the rooms open or close them. The moment you close them, but I've never been on the other side to experience the full flow. I imagine all the other people receive a message with a countdown of 60
exactly,
seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've been very, very diligent at clicking the button. Other people take the entire 60 seconds.
Ah, so no, I'm just like a kid, you know. I see a button, tick, tick.
That's perfect. You're a perfect target for marketing. I
Yes.
remember your name. Okay, see a lot of colored post-its, virtual post-its on the different boards. Even people started hand drawing, putting picture. Wow, Anna, what do we do with all of this stuff?
Yeah, so what we can do, we can export all of these and send you as a PDF, so you can have access to the data later. So I will probably wait for feedback also to come in today or maybe tomorrow, and then tomorrow after lunch we can share this with you. So everything that was written will be then saved and exported, and I can also export my presentation. It was done in Mural, but it was a presentation mode, and share with you if you want. And one of the things I didn't say, but I spoke in my breakout room, I'm now using this time. I spoke with a person that has the same issue with security, and we cannot use Zoom, we cannot use cameras, but we decided to have a virtual coffee, and twice a week we do have a video call over the Zoom on our private devices. We cannot install Zoom on the company device, but we can do it from our phones or laptops, and we do that. And I was organizing that with other teams that we are starting to work with, and I was surprised. Some of the managers haven't seen their people for 2 months. They haven't seen their faces. They work on a daily basis with people, they haven't seen their faces. And that was a huge aha moment for me. It's not natural to people that work a lot with a Skype to have video calls. And I organized a virtual coffee between 2 teams, and the manager of the other team told me, oh, thank you for organizing, because I also saw my team, not just yours, I saw my team. So it's sometimes we found ourselves in an unusual situation, and we forgot about some of good practices that we maybe were thinking about in the normal, but now nothing is normal, and we forgot about a few things.
Can I, it was not planned, but if you don't mind, can I ask you to
Sure.
pretend that you're enjoying the session and give me a big smile? I'm gonna take a screenshot, maybe a couple, and trying to post one. So at least you know this is happening. You can
You're not
prepare.
pretending, it's okay, we are enjoying.
Oh, that's good. That's what I wanted to hear. Was
Yeah, I know.
fishing for compliment. That good stuff, Coran. Was that your game? Your your thing for the icebreaker?
Actually, I guess I should have shared that. This is kind of things that I use, you know, for virtual as well. It's like I have all these cards. So like hard to say I love, and then like weather system to check in with how people are doing, to say their personal weather system. You know, and then the feeling cards. And then just the words that you would comment like wow, when you run it, like really like. But then when people are acting up, put up your woe cards, like hang on, don't treat each other that way, you know. Like, and you could do one for Elmo or banana, you know, or actually have a banana. You hold up the banana, right? Or Elmo and whatever. Yeah. So this is kind of fun because you don't always want to interrupt people, but you want to let people know what you're thinking, you know. Yeah.
That's for the people that have cameras. So now we are jealous. We have only
Exactly.
bananas.
So yeah, this is how you entice them to want to use their camera.
Yeah. In my case, it's a bandwidth. It's
Oh,
just impossible.
yeah.
VPN, bandwidth,
Yeah.
Skype.
Yeah, that is so hard.
That stuff, yeah.
Okay, so maybe we want to go back to our mural and go to the breakout room 1.
Is this when you start asking questions to people?
Yeah,
When it gets real. Oh.
Yeah. I wasn't in breakout room 1, so it would be nice to hear what tips they have. And I'm taking my notes and walking out of the session with some tips. And if you hear some noise in my background, that's my cat snoring very loud. So I will mute myself.
So if you guys from, yeah, go ahead,
so
Beatrice, sorry.
then I was just like, we have to like just explain what we've done on the breakout room one. That's the.
That's one way to go. Or if you had to pick one thing that you learned today, one tip that you would like to reshare with the group, because it's funny, because it's useful, because it's unusual, because you've seen it working many times. If you had to pick one.
I have to pick one of
the things that you discussed in your breakout room. Yes, something that you learned during the conversation with your teammates, if you allow me to say so.
I know we discussed about tools, the fact that we try to not use too many tools. Using the whiteboard, when it's possible, it's kind of great expression, great way of expressing idea. I don't know, guys, because I was not alone on the breakout room, so feel free to add something. No.
Okay.
So, Badrock, maybe if you want to add something, we talk about tool and everything.
Yeah, so just we also talk about the estimations. What are the different techniques we use? And she mentioned that she used affinity estimation, and I explained her we use in different approaches and what the ways like using the planning poker and Fibonacci sequence. Instead of using the visualization techniques, we just normally like our product owner presents the story, and he explains what is the acceptance criteria, and the team can ask the questions. After that, I open a kind of a tool that is a planning poker tool, where the team can join the tool, and then from there they can use that Fibonacci sequence and they do the voting. So that is what just we are sharing knowledge between what she is doing and what I am doing. So.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it was supposed to work. Thank you for sharing also with us.
Yeah, the important thing is whatever that is working for me, that may not work for others. Whatever something working for you, that may not work for me. So the thing is, it's always good to have a knowledge about what other people are using, what are the things common. And so the important thing is to understand whether it can be useful or not. If it is useful, we try to adapt new approaches. If it is not, nothing wrong in having a kind of new type of knowledge, for the tools. Yeah. So like suppose Ana said she's also working in MasterCard. I am also in MasterCard. I use completely different approaches. These different approaches. So, but we both are in MasterCard. So.
Okay, so I will contact you separately to know if Ana is good or not, which she never shared. Well, we agree on that. Let's move to breakout room 2. And one brave person, I see something Endrone, I see an Elmo. What happened there? What did you guys learn? Don't make me call out the names of people in breakout room 2.
I think Paul added the Elmo, but that's the first time I've heard of Elmo, and I love it as an idea. So Elmo being enough, let's move on. A little bit like the banana concept. I think that was the highlight for me. We also talked about having a kind of like a coffee morning, but called a team water cooler, which would be a 15-minute call in the morning with small teams just for casual chat. Start your day by seeing somebody's face and then kind of bit of interaction. Another thing specific to teams whereby people have videos, for bigger meetings where there was a lot of people on the call, like we struggled as a team with engagement and people turning their cameras on. And for those bigger team meetings, it kind of felt like information was just moving in one direction. There was little engagement. So we added a fun visual element to the meetings, stuff like a hack competition or something that would require people to turn on their cameras and have a bit of chatter around the fun elements at the start of the session. So Christmas in May was one example. People were wearing Christmas jumpers and had Zoom backgrounds. So just that 5 minutes at the start to get people engaged and talking. I think those are some of the ideas, but I don't know if anyone else had any highlights.
They may still be shocked. Sorry. I'm still shocked. I would like to see that Christmas jumpers in August and see if you survive 15 minutes. Breakout room 3, your crazy ideas. Ana is not allowed to talk. She talks enough.
So one of the things that we talked about is Ana explained. So I was concerned about how the status of the information is over time. Does it go stale, or how do you know it's current? And so Ana was just saying, much like a physical whiteboard, you come and wipe it, you know, after a day or two, and take snapshots of it. In the same way as you would take a photograph of a physical whiteboard. And so I thought that was a good tip, because I'm involved in a couple of teams where we use Miro and other whiteboard tools, and sometimes I get lost as to, you know, the status of the information. You know, without going in and checking all the history stuff, I don't know if something is 3 months old, or was put in this morning, or was like put in a meeting, or did somebody come in afterwards ad hoc and just put their own opinion up there. So that was a great tip. So that was my main takeaway. Yeah.
Thank you, John. Okay. So before we wipe out the breakout room 4, what did you guys gather there?
That is just my post-its. That when I realized we had to write something, I panicked and didn't want to leave it blank. So I started dropping down all my reflections there. One thing I didn't get to share actually was to have a facilitator. Is something we've done. We have a team of facilitators. So have someone pop in every now and then, like you did when you popped in and reminded us that we had to write something and we still hadn't. So someone to check in, to check that, you know, the progress of the work that you're supposed to be doing, if you're supposed to be yielding something.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you the Fiverr later on. Thank you for the free publicity. Last but not least, breakout room 4, a smaller one.
I can share something which I found like really useful. So one was I really like the idea of introducing new tools by playing games. This is something that I really enjoyed. And another one that we have here is that sometimes we struggle with people joining the calls with videos and so on. So setting up the norm of communication, like a standard. So if we have an engagement with a guest or somebody just joining for specific time, then they would sort of be obliged to adapt to the rules and, you know, share the video, even though maybe they're not used to that. So that's something.
Thank you, Olga. Anything else before we wrap up? Cool. Ana, back to you.
I don't have anything to say. Yeah, as I said, I will go through the comments. I will export everything and send you so you have the materials from this workshop. And I'm looking forward to future workshops.
Thank you, Ana, for organizing this. A lot of work went behind the scenes in gathering the experience and in preparing for this. So I guess the moment we leave the call, in a few minutes, I will get the link to the Zoom recording. I will post that as probably a YouTube video. Pavel will help us with that. We'll post the link in the meetup chat, so just keep an eye on there. I mentioned that there should be some discount code for a training. I will post it too. If you want to post something yourself or some social media, this is the hash, as simple as Visual Agilists. Please feel free to, only if you have very good comments. We don't like mediocre comments. And thank you very much.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the nice idea.
Thank you all.
Anna.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. I really
Thank you.
enjoyed
You
it.
and
Thanks.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Francesco. Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.